34, 35. Hey. 35. Yeah.
All accounted for? All right, everybody, please be seated. Good morning, everybody, on this wet and rainy day. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you so very much for coming. You should really pat yourselves on the back. Really, I know that the weather's kind of crummy. I know that it's hot, humid, that most people don't want to be here. Look, I'd rather be at home too, but I really, your sense of civic duty, just it's amazing. And I really, really thank you. And I love that we have such a great cross section of the community here today. That's what makes, criminal justice possible. A lot of other countries, a lot of other places don't have this. And that's what makes our system so great because, without you guys, we just can't function. My name is David Fleischer. I'm the judge here in County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. It is one of 16 misdemeanor courts here in Harris County. So just to give you a brief rundown, I don't know what you know, so I'm going to go from the top. So what are we? We are one of the misdemeanor courts. Well, what's a misdemeanor? Okay, well, in Texas, there are two types of offenses. There are felonies, and then there are misdemeanors. Does anybody know what the difference is? Anyone? Yes, so to speak. It's based on the amount of time. So a year and above, you're looking at a felony in jail. And below that, a year and under, you're looking at a misdemeanor. Now, within those two categories, there's always subcategories just because of there's so many different types of crimes, they have to subcategorize it. I'm not going to get into the felony because we don't deal with that here. I like to sleep at night and those just, yeah. Anyways, so now within misdemeanors, there's three types. There's A, B, and C. Class C misdemeanor types are the type where, let's say you get pulled over for speeding, you get pulled over for no insurance, or, believe it or not, there's a Class C assault, disorderly conduct, whatever it may be. Depending on where you are in our city, because it's so big, you may go to municipal court, which a lot of people know about here on Lubbock. If you're out in Katy, you may go to a justice of the peace court. If you're out in Webster, or if you're out in that area, Clear Lake, you may go to one of the justice of the peace out there. So depending on where the occurrence happened is where you might go. Here in our criminal courts, our 16 county criminal courts, we deal with only B and A misdemeanors. B are punishable, anything punishable by up to 180 days and or a $2,000 fine. And Class A misdemeanors are those that are punishable by up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. So we only have those two types that we deal with here in our county criminal court at law. Like I said, we have 16 of us because of the amount of people that we have here. And I will tell you now, percentage-wise, I would say 7, maybe 8% of the people that are called upon to come for jury service actually show. It is such an abysmal rate that's why I really congratulate you on coming, because just we really sorely need more people to show up. Because like I said, without you guys, we just can't function. So what we have here, we have two sets of lawyers that I'd like to introduce you to. We have the state's lawyers, and then we have defense. State, would you please identify yourselves? Does anybody recognize them? Okay, defense.
Good morning, I'm Jim Butler. Pleased to meet you all.
Does anybody recognize Mr. Butler? Okay, guys, please. So what we have now is we're here for a trial. I don't think that anybody disagrees with the law in general. What they disagree with is perhaps how things happened, whether someone is innocent, guilty, and that's why we have you here. we are really not asking you to split the atom. We're not asking you to do Pythagoras theorem. All we are asking you to do is use common sense. What's going to happen is a fact pattern is going to be given to you guys. All we want you to do is listen and make a judgment call. I have told this time and again to all the jurors that come here, you know, you really know when you listen to someone in your heart, in your gut, whether that person knows what they're talking about or whether they're from outer space. That's all we are asking you to do. Any kind of preconceived notions, any kind of past things, you know, we're going to ask you, or they're going to ask you, whether you have something that has happened in your life that would render you unable to be able to sit for this type of case. Okay, we're here on a DWI. And so they're going to ask you whether there's something that has happened. But at the end of the day, all we want you to do is listen and make a judgment call. Because you are the people that will listen, look at the evidence, and make a decision at the end of the day. So what we're going to do today is we will start with voir dire today, what we're doing, and then we will start with testimony tomorrow, and I anticipate that we will also conclude tomorrow. Is there anyone here that can't be here tomorrow? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, you are 1, 2, 6. Okay. Is there anyone else that can't be here tomorrow for any reason? You know, the last thing we want is we want you to get impaneled and that for some reason you can't be here tomorrow. It's the worst. So that's why it's okay. We just want to know, is there something why you've got plane tickets, a doctor's appointment, one reason or the other that you can't be here tomorrow? Okay, so. Now, it's not just because you want to like have lunch with someone. It's like, you know, you got a serious doctor's appointment or, you know, plane tickets, not just because you've got lunch with, you know. So I got 5, 6, and 32. Is that it? Okay. Is there anyone here that is not comfortable with English? Doesn't speak English, speaks something different? Okay. And what number are you, ma'am? Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to the lawyers. I'm going to give them each, you know, about 25 minutes to speak to you, get to know you. I know it's a short amount of time to get to know someone, but the idea is that the only thing that we're looking for are people who really have an open mind and are fair. All literally just listen and then make a judgment call at the end. That's all we would like. Okay, are you ready? Okay, floor is yours. It's going. Can you move that?
Let me refresh this real quick.
Um, I don't know that it needs to be.
Judge, on the time limitation, I would ask to extend my time. Because this is a DWI, which I think is super serious.
I know 30 minutes is enough though.
I'm asking Judge, you know, somebody stop going into like some account of like how they're stand what they want. I go to drive. So, you know, when they can you start getting emotional or something like that, I would just ask go get that evidence that you extend the time. of
No, 30 minutes is sufficient. Okay, 30 minutes is sufficient. Okay, I mean, I don't want to go any more than that because anymore it's.
Well, I'm not talking about a question. It's just something like it. Like something.
Let's go and let's see how it goes. Okay, all right. You get 30 minutes each.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kennedy. I represent the people of the state of Texas and this evening DUI trial against the defendants, Ron Garcia. Mayor. And so first, I want to talk to you about, I have a little PowerPoint presentation here. And
So the trick is you gotta unplug it, plug it back. Okay, hold on, let's see if it'll work here.
There you go.
So first I want to go over all the elements that I am required to do beyond a reasonable doubt. Of order to do this. So the first file is, or the first element is the defendant, Ron Garcia, on or about April 13th in Harris County, Texas, unlawfully operated a motor vehicle in a public place while intoxicated. And as you can see, the while intoxicated element is highlighted in red. And I think that I want to go over that element a little bit more in depth with you all and what it means to do, because there is no legal definition for what intoxication is. But we've all known intoxicated people. Some of us, I'm sure, have been intoxicated. So I want to ask you all, what are some signs of intoxication that you know of? Yes, story number 7.
Slur speech, uneven balance, inability to maintain attention.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Come on, I know you guys know some signs.
Irrational behavior.
Yes. And if I can ask you all, when you do speak up, will you please flash your juror card just so we know which juror is speaking, and speak nice and loudly? Our lovely court reporter Ramona reminded me earlier so that she knows everything we're all saying today. Okay, so yes, that. What else? Yes, juror number 10.
Impaired judgment.
Impaired judgment. That's a really good one.
Also motor skills.
Juror number 30. Lots of motor skills.
Cognitive.
Cognitive.
What she said in here.
Cognitive impairment. And so cognitive impairment is a really broad sign of intoxication. What are some specific versions of cognitive impairment that we can see? Juror number 7.
Speaking vulgar or the opposite. They're very, my buddy, here, help me out.
Yeah,
They can go from one side to the other.
yeah, like aggressiveness or being like overly familiar with somebody. I know a lot of people start giggling a lot when they're intoxicated, kind of think that something's funny, but it's not necessarily that funny. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, yeah, juror number 24.
Can't necessarily back walk or back straight.
Right? You can't walk or act straight, and that's a sign of physical impairment. I know we already touched on some of those, but are there any signs of specific physical impairment that we haven't touched on yet? Yeah, I know we talked about failure to maintain balance, kind of swaying while standing. Have y'all ever seen that before, where somebody's standing up and kind of are swaying from side to side, they can't stand up straight? Another one that I see a lot when I go out to the karaoke bar is I'll see people that are really overconfident. Like they just kind of keep the microphone down, you know? They're a little bit too intoxicated for that. So yeah, we went over these. Y'all are really good. You did my job for me. And do we see all those signs of intoxication on every person?
No.
No. And why not?
It depends on.
Yes. Yeah.
You can have a high tolerance depending on your weight, how much what you're drinking, how much the alcohol content is,
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, what was that?
whether you've eaten or not.
Yes, that's a really good one too. So I have a friend, her name is Pat. She's pretty small in stature. She'll have a few drinks, but you'll see like so many different types of intoxication with her. Her face is flushed, her eyes get droopy, starts falling all over the place. But her blood alcohol concentration is probably around a 0.05. But even though she's below the legal limit of the 0.08, would you all still want to drive with her even though she was exhibiting those signs of intoxication? Would anybody here still feel comfortable driving with her even though she was below the legal limit? Only, you would still feel?
No, she would. be
Oh,
passenger.
yeah, good point, Jordan, as the driver. So, I also have another friend, his name is David, he's what my mom calls his in drinking shape. So he can put down a 12-pack of beer, and then you can barely even see any signs of intoxication. Like maybe he'll slur a few words here and there. But would you all still feel comfortable driving with him if you knew that his blood alcohol concentration was above 0.15? Even though he looked fine and he sounded fine. Would anybody feel comfortable with that? Okay. So kind of what I touched on is there are 3 different ways legally that I can prove intoxication in the state of Texas. The first is the defendant lacks the normal use of mental faculties due to the introduction of alcohol and/or drugs into the body. The second is that they lack the normal use of physical faculties due to introduction of alcohol and/or drugs into the body, or they have a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or higher. Now, the big factor here is that it's or. I don't have to prove all of these, I just have to prove one of them. So who here would require me, even if I prove beyond a reasonable doubt all of the elements of the DWI, if I was able to prove all the elements based off of the normal use of mental faculties or they lacked the normal use of physical faculties, who would still require me to bring a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 or higher? Juror number 1? Yes. Okay. So why would you require me to prove the blood alcohol?
I own a bourbon company and I've given out samples to people at various restaurants and bars. And I know that for me, it's very difficult to judge when either an elderly person comes in and they stagger because they may or may not have a cane or they're on prescription medicines, or perhaps people who are overweight sometimes also have trouble with standing straight up. But I don't believe they're intoxicated. I'm giving them a free sample.
I understand, but even if I proved to you that they were intoxicated because they lacked the normal use of mental faculties through introduction of alcohol or drugs into the body, you would still require me to bring the blood alcohol concentration.
I would have to ask.
Okay, so if I were being married,
Would you prove that they?
yeah, so if I proved to you beyond a reasonable doubt that they were drinking through the introduction of alcohol and they lost their normal use of mental faculties,
I would consider.
you would, okay. So can I get a yes or a no?
Repeat the question.
So if I prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant lost the normal use of his mental faculties through the introduction of alcohol, and you knew it was through the
Yes.
introduction. Okay, all right, who else is for Casey? Yes, they're number 5.
The reason why I would require it is because similar to what he was saying, there's other things that can impair a person, such as medication. They might have a mental disability. They might have some type of physical disability, might have a combination of both. And so, I don't.
But remember,
Yeah.
all we're doing is we're asking you to keep an open mind. You know, all these things that you see now, it's all new, right? 30 years ago, you didn't have all this stuff. You didn't have blood test and breath test and this and no. Common sense. You know when you see someone, you know, how they are. So, all right, just keep an open mind. You in your gut will know when you see that.
But it's okay if you would still need the VAC. I'm just asking whether you can follow the law so that we can have a fair trial tomorrow. So with that in mind, who here would require the 0.08 blood alcohol concentration to be shown at trial?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Does require, I'm assuming require means an absolute requirement. So for example, I think it would be a factor, even if there is sufficient withdrawal. But even if there's some proof of lack of use of normal faculties, I still think the blood alcohol level is a factor, but admittedly, it's not a requirement.
Understood. Okay, yeah, and I'm saying, and that was if I proved the other 2 ways to prove it, or just one of those 2 ways, beyond a reasonable doubt in your mind already. So that makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Clarification, if one were stopped along a highway, or perhaps whatever you stop. Could the law enforcement officer arrest somebody for option 1 or 2, or would it only be based on the number 3?
So that's a good question. We are at the trial phase of this, so we're determining guilt. So there are different levels of proof that are needed, and I'll go over the beyond a reasonable doubt standard that we're here to prove. In order to make an arrest, you need probable cause, which means more likely than not. So it's a different standard that we're all here determining these elements for today. Yes.
So if intoxication is due to alcohol or drugs, and that person was under the influence of drugs and no alcohol, wouldn't they not have blood alcohol content?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So that would be a case where blood alcohol wouldn't be necessarily a factor.
Yes.
Okay.
And then now we can move on to the beyond reasonable doubt standard. So what it does not mean is it doesn't mean beyond all doubt. It doesn't mean beyond a shadow of a doubt. It does not mean 100% certain in your mind. Because if it was 100% certain, what would you be thinking? If you knew everything that had happened and you knew all the facts of the case, what would that make you? Who said a witness? Juror number 1. Yeah, it would make you a witness to the case. And none of us here were here on April 13th, 2024. Or there on April 13th, 2024, excuse me. So I have a little demonstration that I like to use. So who can tell me what that is? Like, we have any guesses?
Jigsaw puzzle.
Yes, but what is the jigsaw? What is the jigsaw puzzle showing? Anybody have any guesses?
Giraffe.
A giraffe? That's a good guess, juror number 9. It's 2 giraffes. So, yeah, before, not a lot of us were very sure what it was, and now we can see, even though some of those pieces to the puzzle are missing, we can tell that those are clearly 2 giraffes as the jigsaw puzzle. So like I said before, we're not gonna have all the pieces because none of us here were witnesses, but we can know beyond a reasonable doubt what happened. So 3 questions that you should ask yourself when you're determining whether something is proven beyond a reasonable doubt is do I have a doubt? Is it reasonable? And does it go to one of the elements that has to be proven? And so let's go into a little bit about why we prosecute driving while intoxicated. So why do you all think that we have these laws? Juror number 10?
Because it can pose a threat to public safety, especially if you're traveling on an interstate highway, with lots of traffic going through.
And who else besides the public can it harm? Well,
The driver.
correct, yes, you knew where I was going, yeah. It's also for the driver's safety as well. So who here has recently taught a teenager how to drive? Anyone? Oh, yes. Juror number 13.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
I have 2 teenagers, and it's a struggle. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for them, right? Yeah, there's so many different things that we have to focus on. We have to focus on the road, we have to focus on the stop signs, we have to focus on the brake, and gas, sometimes turning up the radio if a really good song comes on. But we take for granted all the different things we need to focus on while we're driving. So when we introduce alcohol into our system and we dull those senses and we dull our mental faculties and we dull our physical faculties, that can be really dangerous. For example, you're driving through a neighborhood, you see a ball come across the street, what do you think is coming after that?
Child.
A child. Is that a situation where you want somebody who's lacking their normal mental or physical faculties to be behind the wheel of a car? No. All right. Now, who here is a fan of true crime? No, I'm a fan of true crime here. Okay, juror number 10. What kind of evidence would you expect to see in a criminal trial?
Would do anything, eyewitness testimonies,
Testimony?
interviews with the person arrested. Maybe any paper, it depends on what it is really.
Okay. So you would expect when you're saying interviews with the person arrested, do you mean like on camera?
On camera or paper, kind of, because we don't know what the case is.
Okay. Yeah, so in a DWI trial specifically, what other types of evidence would you all expect to see? Juror number 7?
Photographs, drawings of if there was an accident, how far did the vehicle travel? Were there skid marks? Did he apply the brakes at all? Test results, either blood test or breathalyzer
Right.
was administered.
Yeah, those are great answers. What about body worn camera or dash camera? Have you guys ever seen those on?
Yeah.
I know not everybody probably has TikTok, but I always see them on TikTok.
Depending on where you're at, some cities have them, some cities don't.
Right.
So that would be.
But yeah, sure. Number 4.
I wanted to say my son had a little accident and it is luckily had that scan, which helped him a lot to prove what happened.
Yeah, I appreciate that input during the break. Now, we can expect to see all the different types of evidence in a criminal trial. So who here would require me, even if I proved all the elements beyond a reasonable doubt without body worn camera, who would still require me to show the camera footage? Even if it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Your number 10?
The camera footage exists.
I can't go into any specific facts of the case, this is just hypothetical, but I'm saying who here would still require me to bring camera footage if I was able to prove through testimony or other evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the crime was committed, who would still require me to show the camera footage? Juror number 10? Okay.
I just think it's important to capture the first few moments if an accident had occurred, and then, that way you get a glimpse at what you're kind of getting into.
Understood, and I appreciate your honesty. Who else feels like juror number 10? Juror number 24?
I realize you can't in fact, but if there was a camera footage, I would want to see it. I would think that's very cool.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hear your voice up.
I said if there was camera footage in existence, I would want to see it. I think that's fair to both parties, that the jury gets to see the actual.
But if it's not there, are you going to hold it against them? Okay, that's what we want. Open mind.
Okay, and then another question that I have for you all is a sliding scale question. So it's on a scale from 1 to 4, 1 being strongly disagree and 4 being strongly agree. And I'm gonna go one by one for each of you to answer this question. Is how important is it that we prosecute driving while intoxicated in Harris County? So we'll start with juror number 1, a 4. Juror number 2, 4. 4. Juror number 5, 4. Juror number 6, 4. Juror number 7.
You know, 4 is the highest.
4 is the highest. Juror number 8. Juror number 9. Juror number 10. Juror number 11. Juror number 12.
4.
Juror number 13. Juror number 14. 4. Juror number 15 says 4. Juror number 16. 4. Juror number 17. 4. Juror number 18 says 4. Juror number 19. 4. Juror number 20. Juror number 21. Juror number 22. Juror number 23.
4.
Juror number 24.
4.
Juror number 25. 4. Juror number 26. 4. Juror number 27. 4. Juror number 4. Juror number 29. 4. Juror number 30. Juror number 31,
4.
and juror number 32, juror number 33, juror number 34,
4.
juror number 35. All right, thank you all for your honesty. I know you all weren't all great, but you're saying. All right. And then the last day, I just want to wrap up. Are any of you unable to sit in judgment of another person for any personal, moral, ethical, or religious reasons that you have? Juror number 7.
I used to be a police officer, sir, I went to quite a few accidents
Okay,
involving alcohol.
so you think you would be biased against the
And
defendant?
definitely biased.
Understood. Does anybody else feel, not similarly, but does anybody else not be able to sit in judgment of the defendant for their, like, any religious reasons, ethical reasons? Okay. And then, do any of your friends or your family have any personal experiences with intoxicated driving that would prevent you or your prevent you from fairly and objectively listening to the evidence in this case? Juror number 26?
Yes, my brother had multiple DUIs, then he passed away from alcoholism. So I feel very strongly against.
Okay, so you don't think that you could fairly understood. And I know this is a really sensitive topic, so I really appreciate your honesty, because this is really important because we're dealing with somebody's liberty here. Juror number 5.
My grandpa struggles with alcoholism as well as my uncle. He recently was arrested, now he's in jail for a DUI.
Okay, so you don't think that you could be fair and impartial in those things?
I'm gonna connect it to my uncle because I think it me.
Understood. Thank you. Yes, juror number 2.
I had a middle brother passed away.
Okay. So you don't think you could be fair and impartial on this case?
To be honest,
You can.
not sure.
Oh, you're not sure?
Not sure.
Okay, but as I said, it's very, very important. You have somebody's liberty at stake here, and would you want I'm not there from somebody on your jury? So do you think you could be fair and impartial?
I believe I can.
Yes,
I believe I can.
you believe, okay. Okay, thank you, Dirk. Anybody else? Juror number 31?
I have, my dad and several uncles passed away from liver cancer due to, heavy drinking. So I'm very against alcohol.
Okay, but do you think you could sit in a trial, listen to the fact and render a fair and impartial verdict? Yeah. You think you could, or do you, thank you, juror number 3. Juror number 23?
Yeah, I keep going back to the definition of intoxication.
Yeah.
Probably we're saying. I'm not wanting to implicate myself, but perhaps somebody that's had one beer and certainly can handle it, and nobody would know it except the person who's been. Is that person intoxicated based on he has had an intoxicant? Well, it's not beer. Is that person intoxicated?
So that would be up to you all as the jury to decide whether they had either lost the normal use of their mental faculties, their physical faculties, or if they were above a 0.08 blood alcohol concentration from that one beer. I think it would have to be a really big beer to get above a 0.08, but you never know. Like,
Remember,
The 0.08.
everyone's different. You know, you may be 6'2", you know, I'm what, 4'9", right? You know, I may be 150 pounds, 98 pounds. Every single person is different. Every circumstance is different. There's just no cookie cutter. There's just no, so that's why we ask you to keep an open mind, listen, and then you make a judgment call. Anything, I mean, we've all had someone that we know that has had some alcohol related issue in the past, right? Some you may overcome, some just all that, leave it out there, come in here with an open mind, listen. You will be able to make a judgment call by what you hear on the stand. You know when someone is just huffing, so to speak, like, you know, they got a car, their grandma drove to the Piggly Wiggly here and back, you know, when they're trying to sell a car, or whether they're true to what they're trying to say. You will know, your gut will tell you. That's all we're asking, you know.
And I think what you were saying before too is we keep going back to the pointer rate not mattering and stuff.
Anything about what's available.
Okay, so I wasn't saying that the option is not available. I'm trying to ask questions to see if the law will be able to follow the law. So the law is that I only have to prove one of those ways to prove intoxication. So if you would still require the 0.08, that would be raising my burden as the lawyer for the state of Texas. Does anybody else have any questions for me? All right, well, thank you all. I'll hand it over to Mr. Miller.
All right. May we have a stretch break, Judge, so we can switch over the AV stuff?
Please, take your time.
Somebody make a motion.
No.
What do you expect for $98 million? Judge, may we have a moment just to try to get this set up?
Yeah, I'm hitting up AV as well.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to hit up administration to see if there's something we can get someone here.
Hey, cool.
They're coming.
Just plug it into your laptop, you just gotta put your car.
Yeah, so we've been having problems with this. Yeah. Here, Mayor, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lit up on the screen.
Sorry. And thank you for your patience today. How many people got caught in the rain?
Okay.
Anybody? How many people enjoyed parking? Did you park in our garage?
Yeah.
Wasn't that like bumper cars, everybody trying to come in?
I had to go all the way to the top.
Oh, you
Jim.
did all the way to the top floor?
Mr. Butler,
Yes. Ah,
He's-
lovely.
he's here.
Did you hear the presentation?
I can't, let's
Yeah, go
go down.
We just need good old fashioned paper, right? Everybody tries to be fancy and want to do just, now. Thank God for the tech guys. Here, let me help you with it. Because you want to
Close up that. There we go. All right. We got it going.
All right, floor is yours.
All right. So my name is Jim Butler. I'm an attorney here in Houston, obviously. I am older. I am also a father of two 20-somethings. My son just turned 23, and my daughter is 22, and she's a student at LSU. For the father that said that he was teaching his child to drive, you know, I live over kind of in the Heights area, and they closed Northwest Mall. That's where almost everybody I know in that area went and took their kids to learn to drive. I took two children there to learn to drive. One, I even taught how to ride a motorcycle there. All right, so this is a driving while intoxicated case, and I'm going to try to be brief. I'm definitely not going to be able to go through all my slides because I have just a little bit of time. But one of the questions I'm kind of good, if it's okay with you, I'm probably going to jump around a little bit. Is that okay? All right. So I think it's important for you to know why we are here today. So we're not here in defiance of the DWI law. I'm not here saying that we think that you should be able to get out there and get blasted and operate your car. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the laws are good laws. We just are not guilty of violating that law. It's that plain and simple. The people who are selected on this jury are going to be the first normal, non-law enforcement people with no slant, kind of one way or the other, that's going to hear the evidence. And the whole purpose of what we're doing right now, voir dire, is to make sure that whoever sits on this panel and hears the evidence can do so without having like a preconceived notion against someone, or maybe like you've had an experience where you were just like hoping that you would get selected on the DWI panel. Okay. Another quick thing that I want to recognize is I cannot think of any time that I ever selected a jury for a DWI case where somebody was not deeply affected. So I acknowledge those who please show of hands again. I wasn't 100% able to see from over there, but I do believe, sir, I acknowledge what happened with your brother. And what exactly happened?
He passed away.
I'm so very sorry. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've not memorized that jury list. Okay, I'm just letting everybody know. I'm trying to be honest with you. I've not memorized that list. I wrote your name over there. I'll go get it. But the one thing that I do remember that you said is, I think it wouldn't. So obviously, when I'm in charge of this man's life, and hopefully I don't make any mistakes, which I'm terrified of doing, very frankly, I have to get a commitment from you. I know that sometimes it's hard, like especially in the DWI case, we're talking about alcohol. And if you were back there in the back and you were on the fence and you weren't sure which way to go, kind of tilting a little bit, is it possible that that experience might tilt you in favor of the state's theory of the case only because of your prior experience with your brother?
I would like to say no. Never being in that position before.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure how I would react.
There's, I'm sorry, please. The state used to give an example, and I think it was kind of funny. It was, you're about to go on a business trip, you're going to a conference in Las Vegas. Your wife says to you, now, hey, don't go to one of those, shows or anything, or don't, mess around. And you say, all right, I think I can do that. you have to be able to say absolutely, no, not gonna happen, or yes. I need to have an answer.
I would say no.
No, it will not affect your decision. Okay, thank you for that answer. Is there anybody else here, again, looking into your heart of hearts? Is there anyone else that thinks that, or has had, anyone who's had an experience with alcohol? Either you or a loved one, juror number 26?
Like I said before, my brother had been arrested, I think over like a multiple year span, about 5 different times. He served prison time and he passed away about 8 months ago from alcoholism. And I try to be fair and I'm, keeping an open mind, but I really just have a zero tolerance with that kind of behavior.
Absolutely. I understand, and thank you for your definitive answer. You said there's absolutely nowhere way.
Not with that.
And is there anyone else that agrees with her answer? Juror number 7, you had mentioned your experience, so definitively you could not be fair, and I'm gonna go row by row. I'm ADD as can be, so I gotta go. Take it in small bites. Okay, and
I'm good.
you're good. Ma'am,
I grew up in alcohol with alcohol father,
What number is that?
that's juror number 18.
so I'm extremely opposed.
I can't understand what she's saying.
You don't have to holler.
I'm opposed to alcohol
She's opposed to alcohol,
because of growing up with an alcoholic father.
and do you definitively think that that experience would keep you from fair in this jury? And do you mind if I ask the judge to excuse you for cause for that reason? Is that okay? And anybody else? Okay, on the 3rd row. Juror number 27,
I just don't agree with it.
I'm sorry.
I don't agree with the drinking and driving at all.
So the law in the state of Texas says that you can drink alcohol and operate a vehicle as long as you're not intoxicated. And you just cannot follow that law. Okay,
Isn't this your opportunity to see that what is done right? There's few times in life you're going to have an experience that you're going to remember forever. One of those is when you sit on a jury. Everybody hates coming here, but when they leave, they're like, wow, what a great experience. I learned so much by just sitting and listening what happened. It truly is a great experience. You don't see it now, but when you leave, it's a different story.
juror number 5.
As I mentioned before, my uncle's in jail right now from it, and my grandfather, both of them, and they have alcoholism due to military service. And so I think of it systemically, and so that's why I have like a more emotional pull.
And so you don't think that you could be fair because of the type of case that this is?
Yeah, because I know my uncles, I feel like there could have been other things that could have been done outside of a jail sentence.
And just to follow up, juror number 27, you don't think that this is the right trial for you? You don't think you could be fair? Because
No, I've been on juries before and
Yeah.
so I have no problem doing it. It's just
Sure.
this particular, I'm just thankful that my brother never killed it, but so like, I don't understand the point, like, of people even thinking it's okay.
And that's 100% what I want to hear. There are no right answers. I'm not here for you to please me or give me an answer that I want to hear. I just want to hear what's on your heart, what's on your mind. Obviously, this is a DWI trial, so I just want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna throw this one out. Who here right now has something in their mind and they're saying to themselves, man, if he only knew this about me, he would not want me on this panel. If he only knew this about me, if he knew this thought that I have about DWI, he probably wouldn't want me on this panel, on the first row. I know I've heard about your experience and I 100% acknowledge that. And I respect that and thank you for your saying. Anyone else? If he only knew this about me, he wouldn't want me on this panel. See, look, it's okay. If I went out to my car and somebody broke into it and stole all my stuff, and then I was going to jury duty and somebody broke into a car, That's probably not the case that I need to be on. Do we all agree to that? All right. So let's go over that. Is there anyone here who's a member of MAD or who contributes to the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers? Anybody that contributes to that? And I know we're in law enforcement. Anyone else in law enforcement or anyone who aspires to be in law enforcement? So credibility of witnesses. The law says that everybody starts off at the same place. Nobody gets to start ahead of the line a little bit. But look, let's face it, we all have beliefs and biases. Man, I'm from Waco, Texas. So, you know, and the best thing that I did in my life was to come to Houston. But you know something, people there, I mean, you were taught law enforcement, you know, law enforcement can't ever be wrong. They can't make any mistakes. That's kind of how I grew up. I'm just telling you, that's how I did. And then I, you know, started doing criminal law, and then I realized that, you know what, an officer's, here number 6, you would agree, a police officer's just a regular individual, right?
They all start out as regular individuals,
Yeah,
but as time goes on,
it changes.
it changes your view, the way you view things
Have you ever seen an officer make a mistake?
many times.
So all I'm asking is, can everyone start a police officer off on the same line as you would any other witness? Or, and this is 100% okay, is there anybody here who would give an officer more credibility than I'm going to come to you? I'm going to take it line by line. If I don't, trust me, it's not going to be good. But could everybody give them the same credibility, or is there anybody that would put them a little bit ahead and give them more credibility? So the law says everybody's the same, but I need to know if you might give them just a little bit of a head start, like in my picture here, on the first row. No? And by the way, don't be afraid to say yes. I would be so afraid to talk if I was on a jury, really. I'd probably just don't call me. Anybody on the second row? Sir? Yes, sir.
Clarification, in the last 2 days, there was a situation where apparently 2 officers had fired a gun at a suspect. And once the video camera was analyzed, they had determined, I'm not making this, I'm trying to repeat what I read in the paper.
Sure.
Once the video was analyzed, the suggestion was that the suspect was turning away from the officer instead of toward them. So video evidence does change opinion. But I guess I would want to say, given a police officer's word versus the non-police officer's word and training and how to see and observe things, I would probably give some preference to police officers just for that reason.
So the thing you're describing is 2 officers said something happened, the video showed that it didn't happen, but you're saying that you probably would be more inclined to go ahead and believe them that it did happen the way they said.
Video evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Always give the law enforcement person, based on their training and experience,
Sure.
more credibility than the.
And what was your jury number? And so the law says you're supposed to give everyone the same credibility, like line them up the same. You're saying that you would probably put the officer just give them more credibility just off the bat.
I'm trying to respond to your rhetorical
Yeah.
question.
No, it's okay if that's the case. That would be the case, right? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into anything, but I think the answer is yes, that would probably be. I'm doing this for the record. She's got to type this down, so we just have to have a definitive yes.
I respect your law enforcement's training and experience in terms of being able to analyze and see things maybe in a different perspective than I would,
Okay.
maybe non-law enforcement trained.
Okay. And if you were selected on this jury, you would weigh all the evidence and then you would make your own determinations. But you still probably would give them a little bit more because of their training and experience.
You just answered two separate
I'm
questions.
sorry. Okay. Is there anyone else that feels like juror number 23?
I don't think I'd give them more credibility to start off,
Sure.
but in the long run, I would value their testimony more.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say from the beginning, I wouldn't give them the advantage. I would just say that hearing their testimony.
And that's all we want. And that's why we want, like I said, those of you who are selected on this panel are going to be the first non-law enforcement people to look at the evidence. You're going to be the first like citizens, and this is the beauty of the jury trial, is if something happened to you, or heaven forbid you got charged with a crime. Yes, juror number?
No, she was asking me to show my number.
Oh, juror number 31. I have a couple helpers who are helping me because I can't see everything. Okay. All right, anyone else have, yes, sir.
I feel the same way. I just think that the police officers much dedicated to the well-being of the community. As a member of a minority, I very much count on the police to ensure safety for me and members of my community. And so I just think there's no question in my mind that I would give more to the police officer. I don't think it's impossible for the police officer to be wrong, but
Okay.
I definitely give the officers no problem.
All right, I appreciate your honesty on that. Thank you. And your number is number 24. Okay. Anyone else have a comment about that?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
What about expert witnesses? Like, how does that differ from regular witnesses?
So-
Not on this case, just in general.
In general, so you would judge their credibility based upon what they say? Yeah, you're gonna take it all in. You're gonna listen to everything. And that's what we want. We want inquisitive minds that are not just gonna say, oh, okay, they're guilty because they say he is. And we threw some, whatever in there. We want people with curious, inquisitive minds that are gonna sift through the evidence and then make a determination. Now, just quickly, because I'm burning up some time here, tell me on this scale, which best describes you? Number one, I've never consumed alcohol. 2, I used to drink, but I no longer do. Number 3, I'll have a drink, but only on special occasions, like weddings and things like that. And then number 4, I drink and I do so responsibly. Starting with number 3, and juror number 2, a 4, juror number 3, a 4, juror number 5, 2, juror number 6, 1, juror number 2, juror number 8, 3, juror number 9 is 3, juror number 10 is 3, juror number 11 is 3, on the second row. 4, juror number, please, sorry. Juror number 12 is 4, juror number 13, 9, juror 4, number 14.
I'm 3.
Juror number 15 is a 3, juror number 16. 2, juror number 17, juror number 18, a 2, juror number 19, 4, juror number 20, a 2, 21, 2, a 2, 1, juror number 22 is a 1, juror number 23, 4, juror number 25, a 4, a 1, juror number 25, a 1, juror number 26, a 2, juror number 27, a 3, juror number 28, 2, juror number 29, 4, juror 30, 4, 31, 1, juror 32, and 33 is a 4. So I've grown up, and most of us have our entire lives seeing this sign, right? Y'all remember seeing them blinking on the side of the road. Drink, drive, go to jail. But that is not the law. So the law actually in the state of Texas allows individuals to drink alcoholic beverages and drive as long as they're not intoxicated. Now, about myself, I love to go loopy tortillas. It's kind of like our treat on the weekend. Sometimes when we go there, you know, you're waiting, the first thing that the waitress says when she comes up to the table is, what? Can I get you something to drink? And so I usually will have a margarita while we're waiting. And then we eat, and then during that, I may have a beer. Does beer stink?
Yes.
Is it not the most disgusting odor? I mean, really, like, I sometimes wonder, even when I drink a beer, like, when did we ever decide, like, that this is good? Like, it's so, so do you think that a person could be drinking a beer and driving home and then they get pulled over? What do you think they're gonna smell like?
Yeah.
Hello, officer?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think that officer is gonna think? Especially if it's early in the morning, let's say they're coming home, they've been at their family's house or something, they've been hanging out, barbecuing. They're fine to drive, but they say, hello, officer. You think that that officer is gonna think that, you know something? I might need to check this person out. You think that could happen?
Yeah.
What if you have not been stretching? I'm gonna tell you something about myself y'all don't know. I've had 2 complete hip replacements. Isn't that something? You wouldn't know it if I didn't tell you that, because I know I'm in such good shape. Y'all probably thought I was a gymnast. But I've had 2 complete hip replacements. How do you think that that would affect my ability if after coming on from Loopies, I got asked to step out of the vehicle? First of all, if that happened, who thinks that they would be just swallowing their tongue? They'd be so nervous. Who thinks they'd be nervous? Anybody? You think you'd be nervous in that situation? I love it. My daughter, by the way, I'm gonna brag a little bit. She used to be on the U.S. women's gymnastics team for 2 years. She got to represent the U.S. in Judicial, Italy. And then, you know, COVID broke out and pretty much that was kind of unfortunate for her career after that because they weren't able to practice. But a gymnast practices their entire life on the beam, learning how to, you know, and how many people have seen somebody walk on a beam in gymnastics? What do they use when they're walking? They use their arms, right? Why do we have arms? For balance. Would it be fair to ask somebody to walk like a lion and tell them, hey, but you can't use your arms for balance? Like if you wanted to design a test that made someone appear like they were off balance and kind of like clumsy, would you tell them, hey, walk like you normally walk? And by the way, walking that tightrope, you can use your arms. Or would you tell them, no, leave your arms down by your side? Which would you tell them? So we're going to ask you to look at the evidence and you're going to make your own decisions. Like we talked about earlier, you're going to get to decide what is proof of impairment. All right? Everybody think they can do that? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to add something, not about proving, but just about decision making.
Yes.
My uncle loves beer. He can drink, I don't know how many beers. If he knows he needs to drive, he will take 0.
Right.
0 beer.
So let me ask you.
It doesn't matter what the police going to do to stop him and ask him, he will take 0 beers.
Done.
So
So-
that's a beginning of everything, making a decision.
I am not disagreeing with you. And I think that we all agree that anyone that drinks alcohol, what's the first thing that kicks off a DWI? What do you think it is? Anyone? Odor of alcohol. Right?
5 minutes, Mr. Butler.
DWI is an opinion crime. Right now, we're here today because of an officer's opinion. An officer had the opinion, like it's one of the few crimes where you can arrest somebody based on your opinion. It's not like, hey, well, here's proof that this person committed a crime, here's the video of them doing it. It's, hey, in my opinion, I think this person committed a crime. We are here right now, all of the evidence that the state has, the entire power of the state, everything that they have right now to this point gives them probable cause. Now, your job, those of you who are selected on this panel today, is to decide at the end of the day, have they ruled out every reasonable doubt? If a person can't walk, super, you're gonna look at everything, you're gonna hear the circumstances and the facts. It's got to overweight, there are other issues that he's got, and you're gonna decide at the end of the day, is the only evidence of impairment just because of the introduction of alcohol. And if there's an innocent explanation, then you will find that person not guilty. Here's the important thing, the important distinction. Finding somebody not guilty doesn't mean that they didn't do something. It just means you didn't believe so beyond a reasonable doubt. And Judge, what's my time? I'm going to finish probably with this. 4 minutes. Okay. So you've all heard of capital murder case, right? We've all heard people being given the death sentence. The burden in that case is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So before you can stick a needle in somebody's arm and, kill them, the proof has to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's where we are right now. So in this little DWI trial, the level of proof that the state has to prove this case is by the same as you would a capital murder. Here's where we are right here. Probable cause. It's like a ticket. That's where we are. That probably something happened. Now, how many of you have children? How many have children? The state comes and they said, you know what, we heard about you. You're a bad father. We're taking your kids. You gonna fight them? Of course. How much evidence do I gotta bring? On a football field, do I gotta take the ball to the 99-yard line to take your children? Should I pack a lunch? You gonna fight me? To take your kids? Of course. How much evidence do they have to bring? Then you can bring it up. Okay, so that's called clear and convincing evidence. The evidence needed to take your child from you is clear and convincing evidence. In a custody battle, somebody says you're an unfit parent, we're taking your child. You'd have to bring your A game to take my children. I will fight tooth and nail for my children. That is proof by clear and convincing evidence. The burden of proof in this DWI, at the end of the day, is proof beyond and to the exclusion of all reasonable doubt. So I'm gonna ask you something about that puzzle that they showed you. The giraffes, right? Pretty obvious. So tell me, could they prove that the giraffe limped? Could they prove that the giraffe was healthy? Because this DWI case is a little more intense than just identifying, a picture of him and saying, is he a human? Is that a giraffe? Because we're getting into the mind. We're getting into whether something affected that giraffe. And you're going to listen to the evidence in this case. And then at the end of the day, you're going to make that determination of whether or not this person was intoxicated. That means that he no longer had his mental faculties. He no longer had his physical faculties. And folks, that means you've lost them. You don't have them. It's not buzzed driving. It's you've lost them. You no longer have them. Can everyone hold the state to its burden of proof? Can you? Who wants to be on this jury? Show me your hands. On the first row. I'm going to take it row by row. Who wants to be on my jury? Any takers? No. Nobody wants to be on this jury. Thank you. Juror number 10. How about you, juror number 11? You want to be on here? Yeah. Do you want to be on my jury? Okay, I got 10 and 11. How about you, juror number 9? You want to be on here?
I will, but.
And you're on here when you promise to listen to all the evidence. Juror number 8, you good? All right, now we're getting somewhere. And I know about your issue, juror number, you can be with me, you can be on this panel. Juror number 3, is this maybe not a case you want to be on?
I'll do it, I prefer it.
You prefer not to? Okay. How about you guys? Can I count on you? Be on here? Gentlemen?
Yes.
Sir?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? You haven't said a lot.
I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts.
Talk to me.
I don't know. I got for drinking and driving when I was in high school, right? And I don't think I've ever drank too much to drive. Never drove over the limit since then.
Yes, sir.
Almost never driving and drinking.
Yes, sir.
Also was in a court where it got through out because the police officer didn't prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt and came with some things that the judge wrong. So
Okay.
I can kind of see both sides of the coin.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, I
Where's that
don't
accent
really
from?
want to be here tomorrow, but I will be.
Okay. Where's that accent from?
Northwest Iowa.
Okay. I could hear a little bit of something. Sir, what do you think? You want to be on here?
Yes.
You good? All right. Good thing. You want to be good? Eh?
If I have to.
I'm good.
No, you don't want to be on here? No. Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'm gonna sit down.
You forgot the back row.
Well, okay, hold on. Full disclosure, okay, let's all get it out and be honest here. So what happens is, we all have 3 strikes. I have 3 strikes, they have 3 strikes. And that can be for any reason. The person looked at me weird and I felt weird about it. And then we get to strike people for cause. That means like, sir, when you said you couldn't be fair. And so I was just doing the mathematics. And I was kind of saying, okay, we might not get to the back. But I didn't mean to leave you out. I honestly didn't.
We still love you back row.
I was horrible at math, so I might have messed this up. But is there anything that I left out? Please tell me. Is there anything that I didn't bring up? Is there anything that you want to say? Yes, sir.
Is this a first defense?
So we can't even go into any of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, after the trial's over, I'd love to go sit back with you guys. I'd love to talk. But I'm on a very short leash here, so, because I got some other good stuff I wanted to go into. Judge, what's my time?
No, it's over. I mean, I have to be,
How about one last?
no, you've gone over
we're
your time. I have to be fair to both sides.
Okay,
That's it.
not even the constitutional presumption of innocence.
You had the same amount of time as the state. I have to be fair to both sides.
All right. Well, listen, folks, thank you so much for putting up with my board hour. And this is a very serious day for us, extremely serious. And thank you for those that said that they wanted to be on my panel. And we look forward to trying this case too. All right, thank you.
All right. Okay. Okay. So, have you seen the cases that they cite here? Okay,
I know these cases. May I point something out to you?
sure.
Was that Navarro that you just read?
I think I'm looking at your Finian. I don't think it's on point. I mean, this is just whether this guy was more afraid about getting stuck by a needle, and that's why he wanted to blow as opposed to,
100%.
whereas this one's more on point where I think it go either way.
It's 100% on point. And then what I wanted to point out to you was, I believe that was Sandoval that you were just reading.
Yes, Sandoval.
Okay, so in the in the Sandoval case, the court said the only case
Right.
they'd found concerning this very specific issue, the validity of consent given the hearing consequences of passing and failing a breath test, is State v. Sandoval. So they recognize that Sandoval is still good case law. They keep saying that Erdman overruled this case, and that's simply not true. This is still good case law, and I might also add Sandoval is in the Court of Appeals of Texas of Austin. And the case that I cited to you is the 14th Court of Appeals here in Houston, Texas.
Response?
Judge, nothing from defense, sorry, from the state. It is really just
Yeah, I,
something to consider for the court.
I mean, I'm ready to rule. I think it's totally coercive. Absolutely. I mean, there's just no, I've never seen something like it, statement that, so I'm going to get locked up regardless, right? If you do breathe and you blow under, I'll take you home. If you do blow over on breath, then you're getting locked up. All right, I'll blow. I mean, really. If you blow under, quote unquote, I'm taking you home. If you blow over, you're getting booked in. If you do blood, you're getting booked in regardless. Because blood takes 3 weeks, a month to come back. Yeah, I think it's totally, yeah. All right, I'm going to grant your motion as far as the breath.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Your Honor, just to give you, just to kind of maybe make this faster tomorrow. The state has also, we kind of touched on the motion in limine. And one of my motions in limine was to keep any testimony of the horizontal gaze and nystagmus, the eye test, out of evidence because it was improperly performed twice. Once, the HGN that was given might as well have stood for here goes nothing, because that's kind of what it looked like. And then the second time, the horizontal gaze nystagmus test was just murdered.
We agreed to leave it out already.
So, okay, but I just wanted to clear that up for the record.
So just, admonish your officer accordingly. Hey, please don't get into this, and then that'll make it smooth. And then, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
No,
Okay.
Judge, and we also came, just for the record, we did come to an agreement as to where the body cam would be redacted.
Okay.
And the portion that is redacted includes some statements that were on defense's motion for limine. So it becomes moot at that point.
Got it. Just make sure you watch beforehand so that you're okay with everything, so that when we do watch, it goes smooth and we don't,
Yeah, if I can get a copy of the one that they're going to offer into evidence today, I can
Do you
review it
have-
tomorrow.
do you have one
I
here?
do, I do not have a redacted portion of the body worn camera right now, but I can get it to you by the end of today.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
can send it to
That's
you.
fine. I'm good with that.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you tomorrow.